All right, what is up, Rundown listeners? Justin, man, what a Super Bowl. What a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We started out with probably the worst half of football I have seen in a long time. It was 10-3 at halftime. Not much to talk about in that first half. Although Juwan Jennings did throw a touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey, which was pretty dope. And then
Yeah, in our shared notes, the only thing I had after the first half was this is boring AF.
yeah,
That was the only thing of note that had happened.
yep. And then Usher gave us a great vocal performance at halftime after you could hear him, because I feel like they just kind of messed up the audio balancing at first. And then he gave us a random striptease during the game, or during the performance, and then we got onto the second half. And we'll get into all of that in a minute. But first, as always, how's it going, man?
It's going good, going good. Yeah, I mean, just hung out and watched the Super Bowl. Yeah, like you said, it was a boring first half, but ended up turning into a pretty good game. So,
For sure. Obviously, I'm wearing the jersey that I wore to the Super Bowl party I went to. So, go Titans. Got my Derrick Henry white jersey on. Got my Titans hat, of course. Of course. I told people at the party this is the closest we're going to get to the Super Bowl in my lifetime, probably. So I had to rep it while I could. So, it is what it is. But let's get into our breaking news. We'll get to the Super Bowl stuff in a minute. Unfortunately, we have some more somber news to share, as world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptoom has passed away at the age of 24, along with his 36-year-old head coach following a car accident in Kenya. This was just heartbreaking, dude. Like, I watched him run. He ran 2 hours and 35 seconds last year. Like, everyone thought he was going to be the runner to break 2 hours in the marathon, and yet he's gone too soon. It just really feels like it's one of those shocking things that you just don't see coming. And he was a favorite to win the Olympic marathon. Like, it's truly just, you just hate it. Like, I hate it so much. But what was your reaction when you saw that?
yeah, dude, it was the same thing. Like, I saw that and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, that's insane. Like, we're the same age, 24 years old. Like, that is just way too young, man. And the potential that he had, like, we genuinely could have seen a sub 2 hour marathon, like a legitimate one. Not to say that what Kipchoge did wasn't legitimate, but I mean, he had a bunch of different factors helping him.
Well, his was
So
basically
this
his was basically a time trial. It wasn't an official race. So
exactly, like,
yeah,
he probably had the potential to be able to do that. And it just, it sucks, man. Just gone way too soon.
for sure. Thoughts and prayers, obviously, with him and his family and his coach's family, and all affected. We'll move on. The Dallas Cowboys are hiring former Bengals defensive coordinator and Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer as their defensive coordinator to replace Dan Quinn. I think this is a pretty solid hire. I always felt Mike Zimmer was a better DC than he was a coach. And I feel like I don't think he's going to be like a huge drop off from Dan Quinn. I feel like this defense, like, it's going to still be really solid with him. So, I mean, it's definitely just a solid hire. Like, it's nothing like crazy, but it's nothing like, oh, they're going to be so horrible now. So, pretty good hire.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
Cool. Next news, some more sad news, unfortunately, is 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw officially suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon while returning to the field during the Super Bowl. I was shocked, dude. He literally jumped up and down, ready, like the Chiefs had just punted. He was ready, or they had just punted to the Chiefs. He was ready to get back on the field, stop them again. He had been having a game, and you just watched his leg give out on him, and you could see it. It was gross, and I just hate it because now not only, I mean, I genuinely think, and we can get into this later, but I genuinely think him going down changed the game for the 49ers. Because you could just tell, like, it affected them mentally, but also it affected their defense. I mean, he picked off Jordan Love twice, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was a big part of that, and I think genuinely that changed the way that their defense operates with him going down, and now he's probably going to be out all of next season as well. So you really hate to see that. He's such a good player. I feel like we've said this too much this year with these Achilles injuries, man. It's been
Yeah. I mean, and this was just a freak one, but it was like, as soon as it happened, you could just tell, like, that's what it was. I mean,
yeah.
you saw the pop in his calf, which, like, that's what it is every time.
Mm-hmm.
And, he immediately falls to the ground, and it's just like, man, like, it's crazy that happens, and you know exactly what it is, and that's it. And you could tell that it changed the complexity of their defense, and I think it allowed Mahomes to be able to run up the middle more, which you saw him do in the fourth quarter and overtime. So it definitely just changed the way that their defense had been playing all year.
Well, it's worth noting, too, that McCole Hardman's game-winning touchdown pass, that's usually around the area that Dre Greenlaw plays on their defense. So he was booty butt naked, wide open to catch that touchdown. So obviously I'm not saying that Dre Greenlaw's going down is the reason they lost the game, but it definitely contributed. Speaking of, our last breaking news, which will just kind of segue us into our next segment here, is the Kansas City Chiefs have repeated as Super Bowl champions, beating the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in the second ever overtime Super Bowl in NFL history. We'll change it up a little bit, Justin. I'll let you lead us into this Super Bowl segment here, but you can give us the headline, we can go over the stats, and then just kind of go over our reactions from the game. All
right. So the Kansas City Chiefs, I thought they played well. Mahomes went 34 of 46, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He also had 9 carries for 66 yards. Kelsey had 9 catches for 93 yards.
He was their leading rusher.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, 23 of 38 for 255 and a touchdown. McCaffrey, 22 carries for 80 yards. He also had 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And Juwan Jennings, I think, had the Niners won this game, probably would have been Super Bowl MVP.
Wait, I don't know.
He had a passing and a receiving touchdown. He also had a couple other critical catches. But, this came down to, it just felt like Patrick Mahomes just did what he does.
Yeah,
it just felt like when he got the ball with, a minute 50 and 2 timeouts, he was going to go down and they were going to force overtime or win the game. And then when he got the ball again in overtime, it was the same thing. You just knew, like, he's going to go down there. They're either going to kick a field goal and go to a second overtime, or they're going to win the game. And they did. Like, it's like, we've talked about this. There's a list of quarterbacks when they get the ball with 2 minutes left and a timeout or two. It's Joe Burrow. It's Patrick Mahomes. And occasionally you could throw in like a Matt Stafford or a Jared Goff, but like outside of the top 2 that I named, like those 2, you get the ball with 2 minutes left, you're kind of expecting them to go down the field and give you points,
Right.
So it just felt like Mahomes did what he does best. It felt like he compiled information for 3 quarters of this game, and then in the fourth quarter just took over.
It was just methodical. It was just
all of the information that he had gathered over the first 3 quarters about how they're reading coverages, what adjustments they're making pre-snap. It felt like he was able to just take in that information, say, okay, they're doing this when I do this. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go to this receiver because I know he's gonna be open because of the way that they've played that. Like it was methodical. I mean, he, like you said, went. He's the first quarterback in the last 30 years to go 8 of 8 on a drive and also have at least 25 rushing yards. And that's not just Super Bowl. That is
ever.
Any game.
Yep, ever.
Any game in the last 30 years to have 25 rushing yards and go 8 of 8 on a single drive. And he did that on the last drive in overtime of the Super Bowl
to win.
Game on the line.
That's crazy, dude.
Like,
yeah,
that's insane.
I'm gonna quickly go back to the episode where I said that the Chiefs had lost their magic, and I wasn't scared of them when they got the ball with 2 minutes or less left. And I'm just gonna quickly edit that out. I never said that. I mean, no.
Who's gonna tell him?
Well, it is crazy because at that point I wasn't wrong. But
No.
this Chiefs team really did, like, they flipped a switch in the playoffs, and there's something to be said for that champion difference. I mean, it definitely, I agree with you. Like, it was one of those where it felt like the 49ers going up 3 on the first drive in overtime. I was just like, the Chiefs are going to win. Like, you just knew. Because it's like Patrick Mahomes just has this thing where he flips a lever and then he's, bam, short throw that goes for 10 yards. And then bam, he runs for another 12. And then bam, and then all of a sudden here they are.
Yeah. And for me, the play of the game was there's 2 minutes left. Niners are driving. It's 3rd and 4. And the play of the game, it was not L'Jarius Sneed, their other corner.
If you didn't ask me for his
McDuffie.
name, I was about to say, if you didn't ask me for his name, I could tell you. But yeah, Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, Trent McDuffie. The play that he made is 3rd and 4, and essentially in this situation, the Chiefs only have 2 timeouts. It's going to be after the 2-minute warning, and you're already in field goal range. If you get a first down, you basically just bleed the clock down to however low you can go. Moody comes on, kicks the field goal. Chiefs, if they get the ball back, it's 20 seconds with no timeouts.
Right.
The game's essentially over. But what McDuffie did is he kind of looks like he looks like he's gonna blitz, and then right before Purdy looks at him, sees that he's about to blitz, and then as that happens, he backs up.
Mm-hmm.
Purdy sees him backing up, and as soon as that happens, Purdy says, "Okay, he backed up. He's dropping into coverage. Snap the ball." McDuffie takes that step back, immediately shoots the gap. Offensive line doesn't pick up on him. He shoots the gap, and he's able to basically get in the way of Purdy making a pass. He's not able to complete the pass, and it's 4th down. Kick the field goal.
That was the one where Purdy.
That
was the one where Purdy like darted it because he had to.
He had to because McDuffie. It was either he darts it or McDuffie's gonna be pancaking him into the ground. So, like that was the play of the game for me.
For sure. No, absolutely. And,
Yeah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me it was like I was saying, it's the world champ difference, I think. It was honestly my favorite thing about this Super Bowl was that it didn't feel like it came down to the refs.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I remember texting you and I'm like, I hope this doesn't come down to a controversial call at the end of the game like the last 2 years.
And it didn't.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I think that's good for just the integrity of the game. But I also think that's good for the Chiefs because they have, for better or worse, been on the benefiting end of some of these controversial calls in these big moments. Even if it's not in the Super Bowl, like you saw it, in the AFC Championship game last year, there was that controversial call with the Bengals where, I mean, obviously, what was his name? The dude who pushed him out of bounds. Anyway,
same thing. Now that you asked me his name, I don't know who he is.
Right, exactly. No, but the Chiefs have been on the receiving end of some of these some of these calls as far as like the beneficial side, and I think it did a lot for their argument of truly being like, the best team in the league, a great dynastic team, is that they went out there and just won a good game of football, and there wasn't any moment where you were like, oh, they got bailed out. As far as the 49ers go, I mean, I think overall, Brock Purdy being in his second year, playing in the Super Bowl the way he did, I thought he played well. He didn't really have too many plays where I was like, what is he doing? There were a couple, but honestly, those plays where he kind of made some bad decisions were mostly because, I'm going to be honest, I think he and Patrick Mahomes both had every right to fight their offensive line in the locker room after the game because they... Patrick Mahomes more so in the first half and then Brock Purdy in the second half, but both of them guys were running for their lives for some of that game. And if you're a quarterback, the last thing you want to see is the opposing team's jersey when you snap the ball.
Yeah.
Overall, like I think I questioned the Juwan Jennings MVP only because Christian McCaffrey had 160 combined yards. And he was their leading rusher and receiver, so... but Juwan Jennings also did have a passing touchdown. For me, it just it came down to the Chiefs doing what they do best. They kept their cool, everyone outside of Travis Kelce, and they made the plays when they mattered. They, for better or worse, the experience that they had, even their younger guys, I mean, most of the guys on that team are Super Bowl champions, so they've been in that moment before. The 49ers have not won that game. So it's, a lot of them have been there before, but it's not the same. I think we'll address the Travis Kelce thing real quick. He got mad because was it Pacheco that fumbled? Yeah. On the Pacheco fumble.
Because he wasn't
in the game. Right. He wasn't in the game. Andy Reid pulled him out, and he usually blocks on those plays. And so he was mad at Andy Reid that he wasn't in there. According to Travis, he was just telling him how much he loves him. But, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier today. But I think if you're Travis, I understand being mad. He's a champion. He wants to win. I love the passion there. And I think if he's just yelling, I can excuse it. What I can't excuse is shoving your coach in that moment. You can't do that. Especially Andy Reid. You shouldn't shove your coach ever, but that is a legend in his own right. So, I feel like there's a respectful way to, even in that moment, show your anger and frustration, but not shove your coach.
Yeah. I actually made a Facebook post about this. If you want me to go ahead and read what I
go for it. I saw it, but why don't we share it with the viewers?
All right. So Travis Kelce is at worst a top 3 tight end of all time. Arguments can be made for him being the best. Nobody that I've seen that made the cancel culture was talking about canceling him. Nobody that made a post that I've seen has ever played in a game with this much on the line, let alone a Super Bowl. Like, people's legacies and livelihoods are on the line in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Many people that I saw probably didn't even play sports past middle school or high school. So that's one thing. So to sit there and say that he's in the wrong is ridiculous, because you have no idea how much pressure is on this team and the amount of intensity that this team and every team that plays in the Super Bowl, for that matter, has to have playing in that game. Did Travis Kelce let his emotions get the best of him?
Absolutely.
Probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think we're arguing that.
Pushing your coach is, that's just a big no-no.
No.
However,
can't do that.
The thing that upsets me the most is that what's not shown is he coming up to Andy Reid and immediately apologizing and hugging him.
Right.
And saying my bad, I shouldn't have done that.
It's on me.
Travis is an athlete and a competitor. He wants to do whatever he has to do to ensure that his team wins. Also, people talking about this shouldn't be your role model, blah blah blah. Don't let your kids act. These are grown adults. Should your 7-year-old kid be talking to your coach like this? No, because they're a child and the coach is an adult. It is a completely different dynamic.
Absolutely.
Travis is a professional athlete who has played this position for the entirety of his professional career. And like I said, top 3 tight end of all time. I got a feeling he knows what he's doing and he knows what he's talking about. Nah. Not to say that Andy Reid doesn't, but I think Travis Kelce also has some insight on what is good for the team.
And in this case, I think he was right. I mean, he should have been in there blocking. If he's blocking, Pacheco maybe doesn't get hit the way he did, and he doesn't fumble. Of course, if he doesn't grease his gloves, he probably doesn't fumble either, but that's another conversation.
True. Simply put, we should not be canceling Travis Kelce for showing his emotions, even if they did get the best of him in this specific situation. If I'm an NFL coach, I want more guys like this. Guys that are willing to show that they want to put everything on the line if it means that our team wins.
Right.
So, yeah, I disagree with him maybe the little shove that he gave Andy Reid, but everything else, I'm here for it.
Okay.
So that's my little rant.
Taverner's Tirade, part 89.
But it's not about the Bengals this time.
Right, it's not about the Bengals. It's funny because thinking about your attitude about the Chiefs, and how I know how you feel about them, you defending Travis Kelce is very big of you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Well, I try to be unbiased on this show.
Do you?
Off the show,
Do you?
well, I try.
Most of the time, I'll give you that.
Not saying I'm good at it.
There we go. Okay, cool. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I said, he probably shouldn't have shoved him, but I don't have any problem with him being emotional in that moment because, like you said, the vast majority of people who are upset about this have no idea what it's like to be in that moment. So, like you said, I don't really have a problem with it. On to our next topic there. Kyle Shanahan. It is a rough day to be that man. He has now blown 3 10-point leads in the Super Bowls that he has been a part of. So I get into this a little bit later on in one of my hot takes, but oof. It's kind of starting to feel like he might be the problem. You know, to quote a very lightly talked about pop star who was at the game, it's him. Hi, he's the problem. It's him. Justin, what are your thoughts now that Kyle Shanahan has got his own three-peat that he has achieved?
It's not a great three-peat. I'll say
No.
that.
No, it is not.
Yeah, dude, I don't know because like his dad had so much success, and it's tough because while we do think of Kyle Shanahan as a good coach, this is the third time he's been to the Super Bowl as a coach, second as a head coach. His offenses are always top of the league. It just feels like he just can't get over that hump, whether it's Sean McVay a couple years ago, whether it's Andy Reid and the Chiefs, and it just feels like whatever it is, he cannot get to the promised land. And, if you're a Niners fan, you kind of have to be concerned about that. I don't think by any means he's on the hot seat because, like I said, he's a great coach. But, maybe you start to question, like, does he have what it takes to get you over that next step and finally win San Francisco a ring, which they haven't done in 30 plus years. So it just begs that question.
Yeah, it's rough because it's one of those situations where I agree. It's like you don't fire him. He's not on the hot seat. You don't, because he's gotten Jimmy Garoppolo and
Brock Purdy.
Who, I mean, Brock Purdy is definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I'm ready to say that, but. Yeah. It's not like he's taking Patrick Mahomes. If Kyle Shanahan had Josh Allen, I think there's no question they win that Super Bowl. But
yeah,
he's got Brock Purdy. So, and I'm not saying again, I don't even think it's Brock Purdy's. I don't think Brock Purdy's one of the reasons why they lost. I thought he actually played a really good game. But yeah, it's hard because it feels like there's a little bit of a common denominator here. It's like Kyle Shanahan gets a lead, and then instead of playing to win, he plays to not lose, which was something
and
fun.
Eventually lose.
Yeah, which is something fun that I got to explain at the Super Bowl party I was at. But it's about how aggressive you are. So when you're playing, I'll just explain it real quick for anybody who's not aware. When you're playing to win, you're playing more aggressively. It's like you've got nothing to lose, right? You're playing like you are trying to go out and win the game.
You basically play every snap as if the game is 0-0.
Right, exactly. Whereas if you are playing not to lose, it's like you take your foot off the gas. It's like you're cruising. You're trying to protect your lead. You're trying to stop the other team from gaining like more points, but you are not actively doing anything to further your own. You're okay with being safe and taking punts and not taking these chances to, potentially put your team, give you the edge. And what you see is coaches that do that lose to coaches like Andy Reid, who is one of the gutsiest play callers out there. He's one of the people who, he'll do what it takes to win, and he has one of the greatest quarterbacks ever as his quarterback, and arguably the greatest tight end ever as his tight end. And you can't afford in these situations when you're playing a team that's as dynamic as that to take your foot off the gas. Because when they go up 10-0, if they continue to be aggressive and they go, and some of this is a credit to Kansas City's defense, because Kansas City's defense played out of their minds the first half. But if you continue to be aggressive, you go up 17-0 or 17-3 at halftime, this is a completely different game. Because then all of a sudden you punt again, and then it's 10-6 after halftime. And then all of a sudden that's a 4-point game. Like that doesn't scare me at all. Whereas, 17-6, that still feels very out of reach. It's just the mentality and the momentum is so different. And in a game that's decided 25-22 in overtime, momentum is everything.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing for me that really, I think changed the momentum was Christian McCaffrey got 2 rushes in the third quarter.
Which was
He carried
dumb.
the ball 2 times.
Which was dumb. It's like we saw with Lamar.
Yeah. How are you not going to give what I consider the best running back of all time? He's the best running back in the league right now, no question. How are you not going to give him more touches in the third quarter?
And
How are you not going to do what he does best?
He was having his way with the Chiefs defense. That was the one thing that was going super well, was he was guaranteeing
every pop was 6, 7, 8 yards.
Yeah, he was guaranteeing you at least 4 yards a carry. And you just don't run with him in the third quarter. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so the Kyle Shanahan thing was mine. Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah. So Patrick Mahomes now wins his 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. He is now, in the 6 years that he has started, he is 6 for 6 on AFC Championship games. He is 4 of 6 on Super Bowl appearances and 3 of 6 in Super Bowl wins. So 3 of the 6 years that he has been a starter, 50% of the time, he's winning a Super Bowl. The question has to be asked, is he the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest player of all time? And if not, what does he have to do to get there? So my opinion on this is, as it does pain me to say this because I am a Bengals fan, big rivalry with the Chiefs, but I think we have to sit here and look and say that we are witnessing the greatest player of all time. I don't think he has that title yet. I don't think he has it yet. I think the title in and of itself still belongs to Tom Brady because he has 7 championships.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if Mahomes, for me, he has to win at least one more. And then I think we start having a serious discussion. Did he take that title from Tom Brady? If he gets to a 5th Super Bowl championship, I don't think there's a debate anymore. I think at that point, he is the GOAT.
So you agree you agree with me? It's not going to take 7 rings to pass Tom Brady.
No, I don't. I think I look at the offensive firepower that he had this year.
Bro, he had me out there at wide receiver at one point.
Yeah, you were wide receiver 2 for them, halfway through the season. And so for me, it's I don't think he has to get to 7. I think right now it's a conversation. I think 4 furthers that conversation. I think 5 ends it.
Can I throw one scenario out here in which I think 4 guarantees him as the greatest quarterback ever?
Yeah, go for it.
So next year they make the AFC Championship game. The Bengals beat them. Bengals go on to win a Super Bowl. Andy Reid retires. Travis Kelce retires. Next couple years they retool a bit. Patrick Mahomes goes to the Super Bowl again with a new coach and they win. I think if he gets his 4th ring but it doesn't have Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, I think he's guaranteed to be the greatest quarterback ever. Because at that point, you can still attribute a lot of his success to having Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. I mean, that's been your qualifier all year, right?
Yeah.
Since they have those 3 pieces.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not at all saying that he is what he is because of them, but it's hard to deny their impact on his success. I completely agree with what you stated. I think we are witnessing the greatest quarterback and potentially the greatest player we have ever seen. I think the greatest player still would probably go to Lawrence Taylor or Jerry Rice. just the greatest all-around player when you factor in.
Yeah, if you look at the dominance of their
Right.
specific position.
Right. I think
like Jerry Rice has records that will
never be broken. Yeah,
ever.
exactly. And Lawrence Taylor is like a freaking like World War II tank on legs. Like it's just one of them. Like, oh God, So I think Tom Brady will probably. What I think will happen is I think Tom Brady will stay the winningest quarterback ever. But I think Patrick Mahomes will pass him and be the greatest quarterback ever, because I think greatest, when you factor in their careers, I mean, freaking Patrick Mahomes is probably going to retire after 15, 20 years maybe and you could probably chalk him out for 12 AFC championship appearances in that time. Like, I think we are witnessing something that is just unheard of.
Yeah. And for me, I think it's easy to relate it to kind of the Michael Jordan LeBron debate, where like a lot of people view LeBron as the greatest player of all time, but he has 2 less rings than MJ. So yeah, Michael Gordon. No, but like a lot of people say that, LeBron is the GOAT.
That's like that dude who shows up at LA Fitness wearing the Jordan jersey and he's like, 5'8" and 200 pounds, but he's out there like just like 20 for 20 from mid-range. That's Michael Gordon,
Michael
bro.
Gordon, bro. But I think it's easy to relate this debate to that one, because I don't think Mahomes, and I very well could be wrong here, but I don't think Mahomes gets to 7, just because that's an insane level of sustained success that we've never seen, and I don't think we'll ever see again.
Right. I mean, even Tom Brady went a decade between Super Bowls. Like,
exactly. So, I don't think he has to get to 7 to be considered the GOAT. I think 5. I don't think there's a debate anymore.
Right. I agree with you completely. Kind of continuing the greatest or just greatness conversation. You have a question in our notes that's kind of silly. Are the Chiefs officially a dynasty? Duh.
They've been a dynasty.
Yeah, I was like, why is this in here? Yes. We are witnessing one of the this is probably the greatest 6-year run in NFL history. I can't think of a team that has had a better run than this. Because even, I'm trying to think. Those Patriots years, maybe, but, some of those Patriots
you
teams,
still saw success from, Peyton Manning, and Eli Manning beat him twice, and, Aaron Rodgers won one, and the Steelers won a couple, and Drew Brees won one, and, there were people that had success while Tom Brady was still in the league.
Right.
The only people that have won a Super Bowl besides Mahomes was Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one AFC quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes that has won a Super Bowl in the last 6 years. And that was Tom Brady.
Yeah.
There is also 2 NFC quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl in the last 6 years. One of those is Matthew Stafford. The other one, Tom Brady. So it's like... I mean,
and Tom Brady, he's not in the league anymore.
Right.
Matt Stafford's 90 years old.
Now, if Matthew Stafford comes out next year and just he listens to this podcast one day and is like, bet, and next year he just throws for 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns and wins the Super Bowl, all right, you got me. But we are seeing the greatest 6-year run in history, and I think, they retool. And I think it's hard to pick against them next year, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. You think about it, and what quarterbacks have beaten Mahomes in the playoffs?
Joe Burrow. That's it. That's the list. And so if the Bengals get knocked out in the wild card round, or which honestly, knowing your luck.
Yeah, or something happens, they don't make the playoffs somehow. Why should we think that Mahomes isn't going to find a way to make the Super Bowl again? There's no evidence to say that we should choose against him. There's nothing.
Right. So, I think we can leave that. I think that one was a pretty easy, short question. Did you want to
Yeah.
Did you want to ask the last one?
Yeah. So this is a big controversial topic. So with the new OT rules, I think this started after the Chiefs Bills game. Am I correct?
Yes, the 13-second game is when they changed the
Yeah.
rules.
So originally it was whoever gets the ball first in overtime.
They score a
If
touchdown,
they
it's
score
over.
a touchdown, it's over. If they kick a field goal or punt, obviously the other team gets a chance to possess the ball, either kick a field goal or win.
The only exception to that rule, and also still the rule now, is if there is a defensive score in that first
Yeah,
possession.
or safety. Yeah.
Yep.
So they changed it to where you can get the ball first. If you score a field goal or a touchdown, the other team still gets a chance to possess the ball. If they kick a field goal and it's tied after 15 minutes, you play another one. I think that's just playoff rules, right? That's not regular season.
Correct. Regular season
Okay.
is still I think it's still the old rules where
You score first, you win.
score first. Well, if you score a touchdown, you win.
Yeah. So the question is that the Niners won the coin toss and Kyle Shanahan chose to receive the ball and get the ball first. Did he make a mistake choosing to receive the ball to start OT? I'll let you answer, Ben.
Before I answer this question, I have a mini rant.
Go for
I
it.
have seen so many reports today that of 49ers players saying during press conferences and interviews that they did not know that the overtime rules had changed. The overtime rules, granted, this is the first time we've seen them, but the overtime rules changed 4 years ago. They had 2 weeks to prepare for this Super Bowl, and not one person in that building thought, damn, what if we go to overtime? So, I don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, that is the softest excuse ever. Do I think Kyle Shanahan made a mistake choosing to receive the ball to start overtime? In my honest opinion, if it was anybody but Patrick Mahomes, no. And here's why. You get the ball first, you go down, you score a touchdown. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
You go score a touchdown, then it's on the other team. The other team has all the pressure. The pressure is completely on them. Now, granted, there's been data showing that Patrick Mahomes, whenever he has the ball in his court and he is under the most pressure, is when he is the calmest. He wears one of those Whoop bands, and his heart rate is the lowest whenever he is on the field and has all the pressure on him. His heart rate is the highest whenever the other team is on the field. Which is nuts, because anybody else, that moment is too big. Given that it's Patrick Mahomes, I think he did make the wrong decision. Because you get the ball no matter what, and I think you would rather end the game on your terms than end the game with your offense sitting on the sideline watching it happen. So, I understand his thought process there, and like I said, if it's any other team, I think you put the pedal down, you go for it, you get your touchdown, then it's on the other team to match you. But in this case, you got to know who you're playing, and I think you defer. So, what were your thoughts on this one?
So I disagree with you here. I think he made the correct decision.
Well, to be fair, that's what okay, no, just kidding. Yeah. Sorry.
You said that he made the wrong decision because it's Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I think he made the right decision. And I think because there's no data or analytics to tell you what to do here. Whereas obviously all of these teams have so many different, analytic based people who come in and say, oh, it's 4th and 2, go for it. Or, it's 4th and 3 from your 45, you have a better chance of going for it instead of kicking your field. Like all of this stuff. there's no analytics to tell you what's right and what's wrong in this situation because it's never happened. So given that, he has to go with his gut. And to throw on top of that, their defense was just out there for 11 plays on that final drive for Kansas City in regulation.
True. That is true.
So I understand him saying, okay, my defense was just out there. They're probably gassed considering they've had 5 minutes to recover before this OT starts. I'm going to give them another, there was 8 minutes of game clock that came off. That equates to probably 15, 20 minutes extra time rest that his defense got. Obviously, it didn't pay off, but I understand his thinking there.
Yeah.
So I think for me in that situation, I would have chose to receive the ball.
Fair enough. And like I said, I think if it's not Patrick Mahomes, I completely agree with you because, like you said, you want to put the pressure on, you want to give your defense a break. However, I'm just saying, when you got that guy,
it's Patrick Mahomes here.
When you got that guy on the other side, it's a tough choice.
I hope it's Kermit the Frog.
I'm here. That's my favorite video online right now. All right, on to Taverner's Tiers? ? We have the 2025 Super Bowl odds according to FanDuel. So Justin, I tiers ?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Basically, I'll just go ahead and give the teams based on what FanDuel thinks their odds are of winning the Super Bowl next year. And then we can kind of discuss, is the team too high, too low?
Are we doing all 32 of these? Because I'm going to say right now that the Panthers are not low enough.
I was going to do all 32, but some of these will be kind of quick. I'll go through them pretty quickly.
Okay.
So I will give you the team, the position, and I will also give you the amount of money that you would win on a $100 bet. So if I say plus 25,000 for the Panthers, that means on a $100 bet you would win $25,000 if they were to win the Super Bowl.
Who's gonna tell them?
So, yeah,
they're at 32, and that is literally what I wrote because Justin has the odds in parentheses in our doc, and in the parentheses I put who's gonna tell them.
So, like I previously said, Panthers are 32 at plus 25,000. The Giants are 31st at plus 15,000. The Titans and Patriots are respectively at 30 and 29.
Yeah.
Also plus 15,000. The Commanders are at 28, also plus 15,000. The Broncos and Steelers are at 27 and 26 at plus 10,000. The Seahawks at 25. Bucks at 24, Cardinals at 23, Raiders at 22, Saints at 21. Those are all plus 7,500. The Colts are at 20, the Falcons 19, the Browns 18, all at plus 5,000. The Bears and the Vikings are at 17 and 16 at plus 4,000. The Jags are at 15, the Jets at 14, the Chargers at 13, and the Rams at 12 are all plus 3,000.
Can I real quick? The Chargers at 13, they saw Harbaugh get hired, and they were like, "Man, this is just suddenly going to be such a drastically different team."
Right. The Packers are at 11, the Texans at 10. They are both 2,500. The Dolphins are at 9 at plus 2,000. The Eagles are at 8 at plus 1,700. The Bengals at 7 and the Cowboys at 6, both at plus 1,500. The Bills are at 5. The Lions are at 4 at plus 1,200. The Ravens are 3rd at plus 900. The Chiefs are at 2 at plus 750. And the 49ers are 1st at plus 450. So a $100 bet on the Niners right now would win you $450 if they were to win the Super Bowl next year.
But didn't the Chiefs just didn't the 49ers look? What?
No, I know. That's what's crazy.
Aren't the Chiefs like 2-time Super Bowl champions right now?
Yeah, last I checked. I could be wrong about that. I might need to fact check.
Okay. Wow. All right. Yeah, so right away.
So anything that like
right away, I think
jumps off is a team too high, too low.
Well, first of all, the Titans are way too low. They should be number 1. But no.
Who's going to tell them?
Yeah, the Chargers at 13 I think is too high. The Jets being on this list, I think they're too high. I think the Bengals probably should be higher than the Cowboys. The Texans are too low. I would probably put them up at 8. And then obviously the 49ers and Chiefs should be flipped.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
All of that because one of the things that I said there was pretty egregious.
I think the one that really stands out to me is the Bears.
Yeah.
Like, you don't...
I don't know that the Bears...
As of right now, you don't know what their quarterback situation is. It could be Justin Fields. It's probably going to be Caleb Williams. And you don't know how he's going to translate to the NFL.
Exactly.
Rookie quarterbacks historically aren't good. I mean, yeah, you have C.J. Stroud, who just had a really great season. But historically in the playoffs,
but there were talks about C.J. Stroud being like the 4th quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And, like, Caleb Williams, like, sure, he's like a generational prospect. People were high on Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. Just saying. I know Caleb Williams is processing and all that. He's way above anything like that. But I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah, I think that one, I think they're too high. For me, I think the Dolphins are too high. I don't know. I simply can't trust Tua in the playoffs.
They definitely should not be above the Texans or the Packers.
No shot.
Neither
Honestly,
neither should the Eagles. Like, that's my hot take there is I would go Texans at 8, I would go Packers at 9, and then I would go Dolphins at 10 and Eagles at 11. Yeah. The way the Eagles fell apart, I don't trust anything about them next year. Now watch, they're going to go 20-0 and win the Super Bowl. But
I think the Bucks being at 24 feels too low for me.
I also agree with that.
That one, to me, I know a lot of that probably hinges on where Mike Evans ends up. If he ends up re-signing with the Bucks, if he doesn't, because he is a free agent. Mm-hmm. I think if he ends up re-signing there, and it's going to be the same team that just got to the divisional round. Like,
and smacked the Eagles
and all of a sudden they dropped to 24th. Like, that feels like a really far drop for a good team. Or no, I'm not gonna say a good team, but a team that made the top 8. Like,
also, apparently to
put them in 24th.
Apparently, the Titans are going to be worse next year than they are this year. I don't see that happening.
How many games they win this year?
6.
6?
5. It might have been 5. No, it was 6 because it was one less than last year. But we're gonna have a draft from the we're rebuilding. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling they'll probably. I like Callahan as a coach. If I had to guess, I'd say.
I'm not saying they're going to be great. I think they're going to be
in that ballpark.
Yeah, at best, I think they're going to be like 9 and 8. I'm not saying they're going to be like amazing, but I think they're going to transition to a different kind of offense, and I think they'll be all right. We can talk about that later because it's not really relevant right now. But I'm just a little booty.
If I had to guess, I would say that they'll land somewhere in that 5 to 7 win range. If I had to guess, I think their ceiling is probably 8 and 9, 9 and 8.
All right, so this is going to be a solo podcast moving forward.
All right. That's not that egregious.
No, yeah, you're right. I know. Ugh.
All right.
And then, like I said, last but not least, I think the Panthers should be replaced by Ohio State, Georgia, Florida State, Michigan, and probably Washington.
And maybe Georgetown College, too.
Probably. All right. Speaking of egregious takes, I thought this would be a fun time to throw in a cute little hit or miss NFL season recap. The season's over. We've got our Super Bowl champion. Thought this would just be a fun way for us to relive some of our highlights and lowlights of our season so far. So, you want to start out? We'll both give our hits, and then we can both give our misses? Or would you rather give our misses first and then end on a high note?
Let's give our misses.
Okay. So, why don't you give us your first miss? Because I think mine is the better one.
They're both pretty
They're
bad.
both pretty bad, but I think mine takes the cake. So, here is Justin with your runner-up for miss of the year.
Is that Patrick Mahomes is a system quarterback. I said this because his productivity had gone down.
You said this with your whole chest too.
I did, and I even had you say it for me.
Yeah, I had to say it because I lost that podcast. So I had to say it. You came in, you doubled down on it. You were confident.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes was the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, no, it looks really bad now.
Yes, it does. But if it makes you feel any better, it's runner-up for a reason, because I had the winner of the coveted hit or miss of the year award. And that is that the Baltimore Ravens would miss the playoffs. You know, I did try to qualify that with, well, it depends on if Lamar Jackson gets hurt. There's no justifying it.
Yeah.
That's a L. That's a big old L. So, you know, I am just going to own up to that. I said that. I'm a little dumb. It is what it is. Let's now end on a positive note. Justin, your hits of the year, my friend.
See, I have two, and I would like you to vote on them to see which one do you think was a better call.
Okay.
So in week 15, I said that Kevin Stefanski would win Coach of the Year, and he did. I don't think it was close. I said that in week 15. In week 16, I called that Dallas would be a first-round exit. I think they're both pretty good.
This is an easy
given
vote.
The circumstances.
This is an easy vote for me, though.
Which one was a better call?
Kevin Stefanski winning Coach of the Year. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because a contender for your runner-up for miss of the year is that Dak Prescott should be the MVP, and that you called Dallas as it was their year.
To be fair.
I'm not,
Dak,
you know.
Dak has better numbers than Lamar all the way
He
around.
does. No, I'm not disagreeing with that, but we were definitely a lot higher on the Cowboys earlier in the year than we should have been. So I can't let you call that as a hit of the year, unfortunately. But it's not a bad call. Like, I mean, you definitely called it in week 16, but I'm not going to act like we both weren't saying that the Cowboys were going to be really good.
Yeah.
So, on to my hit of the year. The Detroit Lions would be an NFC championship team / contender. And I am so proud of this one. Because I called that... I don't remember.
You called that early.
I don't remember exactly when I said that, but I think it was early in the year.
I think it was within the first, 4 weeks.
I was going to say, it may have been... I may have, hinted at it even in, week 1 when they beat Kansas City. I definitely didn't say it then, but I definitely said something along the lines of, don't sleep on the Lions or something. You know what I'm saying? I called them, a sneaky dark horse team or something like that. So I've been high on the Lions all year. I'm proud of that one. So yeah, that was my hit of the year. So that was a fun little rehashing of our brightest and darkest moments on this show. Let's make a couple more. Why don't we? On to our hot takes.
Let's do it.
So we'll just do the same thing. I'll give one. You give one. I'll give my second. You give your second. So I'll start us out.
Sounds good.
My first hot take is that the San Francisco 49ers will not win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan at head coach. Kind of rehashing what we said earlier, he is now the only common denominator in the only 2 Super Bowls in NFL history to reach overtime, and he is on the ass end of an ass-kicking in both. The Patriots 2017 28-3 comeback over the Falcons. He was the offensive coordinator, and then the Chiefs 10-0 comeback in 2024 over the 49ers. I missed this in that bullet point. However, my bullet point B is that both of the Super Bowls that the 49ers have played in under him, they blew 10-point leads, in addition to the 25-point lead he had as the offensive coordinator in 2017. I think at this point it's too much of a pattern to say it's something that he can overcome, Maybe he proves me wrong, but at this point, I'm not confident in it. So that is my first hot take. The San Francisco 49ers will not win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan.
My first hot take, and I can't wait to rehash this in the wild card round of next year.
when they get blown out by like the Titans or something.
Yeah. Is that the AFC Championship game next year will be hosted in the city of Cincinnati, as my Cincinnati Bengals will play host to the Houston Texans.
Oh no!
For the AFC Championship game.
And don't get me wrong, I would be ecstatic to see Houston in the AFC Championship game because I think that they have the team that could do that. But like we've said, I just can't wait to rehash this whenever the freaking Kansas City Chiefs are, in the AFC Championship game again against probably the Texans. Because let's be honest, if any of those three teams is going to disappoint somehow, it's going to be your Bengals.
Yeah.
And it's because you're a fan of them.
Yeah, odds are it'll be Cincinnati gets blown out in the first round and Houston wins 4 games because C.J. Stroud gets hurt or something.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Speaking of Kansas City, my second hot take. Here we go. The Kansas City Chiefs will accomplish something that has not been done by an NFL team ever. They will become the first NFL team to win a three-peat Super Bowl championship. They're going to sign a big-name wide receiver one like Mike Evans, T. Higgins, or another name. And they will have an offense that doesn't lead the league in drops next year. They'll keep their stifling defense, and for the first time ever, we will see that three-peat. With that, Andy Reid and Travis Kelce will retire, and the dynasty will enter a new era. And I just saw your...
I saw you smile and so I knew you were reading it.
Yeah, he told me that he respects my opinion and that it's a good one.
And some other colorful words.
Yeah, you can use your imagination, but I think if they three-peat, I think Andy Reid and Travis Kelce both are. I think they're done. I don't know what else they would have to prove at that point. I think a three-peat would also be a contender for Patrick Mahomes to be guaranteed as the GOAT. But anyway, that is my second hot take.
All right.
Is that the Kansas City Chiefs will three-peat.
My second hot take, not super hot, but still kind of a fun little exploration, is that the New York Jets will be the recipient of a major offseason free agent signing. My guess is that either Mike Evans or Brandon Ayuk, hopefully it's not T. Higgins, he stays at Cincinnati, or they find a way to bring in Devontae Adams. I think they would have to trade for him. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I haven't seen his name in any free agent stuff.
Yeah, I think he's got another year too.
My assumption is they'd have to trade for him. But yeah, the Jets will find a way to bring in a big name wide receiver to add on to their duo, or to basically make a duo of whoever they sign in Garrett Wilson.
Man, that's a deadly first round exit right there.
First round.
Playoffs.
Right. Playoffs.
I mean, I don't hate it. Like you were reading that and my thing was like, I was like, okay. Like the Jets are going to sign.
That's why I said it wasn't super hot.
Yeah. The Jets will probably bring in Mike Evans, and then he'll just for some reason look 80. He'll have like 18 catches on the season for like 300 yards.
Yeah, his 1,000 yard receiving seasons in a row will just come to an end because he's on the Jets.
He'll just look washed.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's the Jets we're talking about, so one good thing can't happen in a row here.
Yeah, for real. The only good thing I've ever seen in Jets history is the butt fumble.
Yeah, that's the most iconic play in their franchise history.
And that's why it's good, is because it's iconic. All right, Justin. Well, hey, I think we're going to get out of here at just around an hour. So, it's been a fun NFL season. I think we may, depending on timing, we may talk about, like, taking a break or something, depending on, like, kind of how things shake out with NBA, stuff like that. But... for now, it's been a fun NFL season, and thanks everyone so much for listening. So make sure to like the podcast and subscribe wherever you get your podcast and on our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Rundown Sports Pod. We appreciate everything as always, and until next time, guys, have a nice day and tighten up.
Hoo day.